Now, if you've been paying attention to international headlines, you've seen that America's most important canal, the Panama Canal, is dying. This engineering masterpiece, which has been the backbone of global trade for over a century, is now struggling to survive. Historic droughts have pushed water levels to dangerously low levels, slashing the number of ships passing through each day. As a result, shipping costs are through the roof, and long queues of cargo ships are becoming the new normal. This isn't just Panama's problem, it's a global crisis. The canal moves $270 billion worth of goods every year, and its troubles are rippling through supply chains worldwide. From the food you eat to the electronics you buy, everything is affected. But here's where it gets interesting. Other countries smell opportunity. Mexico is betting on its Interoceanic Corridor, a land-based trade route that could rival the canal. Colombia is pitching an ambitious railway project, and Nicaragua has revived talks about building its own mega-canal, a massive undertaking that has been years in the making. Everyone wants a slice of Panama's trade empire, but still, Panama isn't backing down. The Canal Authority is coming up with bold strategies to fight back, including upgrades to improve water conservation and new plans for modernizing the canal. It's a race against time and against its competitors. Can Panama hold on to its crown, or will one of these mega projects steal the spotlight? Stay tuned, because we are going to break down the battle for control of global trade. Now, if we talk about the Panama Canal, it's one of those epic feats of engineering that changed the world. Its construction began in 1904, and after 10 years of intense labor, it was finally completed in 1914. As a result, it created a shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, saving ships from dangerous weeks-long detours around South America. Before the canal, ships had to travel all the way around the southern tip of South America, through the rough waters of the Strait of Magellan, or up the dangerous Cape Horn. This detour was not only time-consuming, but also risky, with ships exposed to unpredictable weather and challenging seas. So cutting through the Isthmus of Panama was a total game-changer, cutting down travel time from weeks to just hours. The canal, stretching about 50 miles, connects the Atlantic to the Pacific through a series of locks and channels, allowing ships to bypass the entire continent. But the construction of the Panama Canal was no easy task. Workers faced intense heat, diseases, and hazardous conditions that led to thousands of deaths. The main engineering challenge was overcoming the steep terrain, as the canal had to be built across a significant elevation difference. The solution was the lock system, a series of giant gates and chambers that raised and lowered ships as they passed through. Despite the huge challenges, the canal opened in 1914, and within the first year, around 1,000 ships passed through. Over time, the number of ships using the canal has only increased, making it a crucial artery for global trade. However, today the Panama Canal is facing an unexpected crisis, and it's not because of any mechanical failure or technical glitch. The issue is something much harder to control: water. The canal relies on Gatun Lake to operate. This man-made lake is crucial because it supplies the water needed to fill the locks that raise and lower the ships as they pass through. But in recent months, a prolonged drought has caused water levels in Gatun Lake to drop to historic lows, creating a serious disruption in the canal's operations. In 2023, Panama experienced one of its driest years on record. October saw rainfall levels 43% lower than average, marking the driest October in Panama since the 1950s. The lack of rainfall, compounded by a strong El Niño event, worsened the drought. El Niño is a natural climate phenomenon that brings warmer than usual sea surface temperatures and air to the Pacific, which has a knock-on effect on weather patterns around the globe. In Panama, this means less rain, especially during the dry season when the canal's water supply is already under strain. The severe drought, fueled by El Niño and rising global temperatures, has dramatically reduced the amount of water available in Gatun Lake. By January of 2024, the water level in the lake was almost 6 feet lower than it was in January of 2023. This has forced the Panama Canal Authority to impose restrictions on the number of ships passing through the canal. This drought is not just a problem for the canal's daily operations, but has broader implications for global trade. The Panama Canal handles about 5% of the world's total trade, and any disruption to its operations ripples through the global supply chain. For example, delays at the canal can cause shipping costs to rise as ships are forced to find alternate routes or wait in longer queues. In some cases, shipping costs have jumped by as much as 400%. This, of course, leads to higher prices for consumers. Goods like children's toys, electronics, and even essential medical supplies like insulin are among the cargoes delayed by these disruptions. But the drought's impact doesn't stop at global trade. Gatun Lake is also a critical water source for Panama's population. Millions of people in Panama City and Colón rely on the lake for drinking water, and as the water levels drop, so does the availability of clean water for the country's residents. The problem also extends beyond the drought itself. Ships are getting bigger. The Panama Canal, which was designed over a century ago, is now facing pressure from the increasing size of modern vessels. As cargo ships grow larger, they need deeper and wider channels to pass through the canal. This puts even more strain on the water supply and the canal's infrastructure. Additionally, the current drought limits the size of ships that can pass through the canal, forcing them to carry less cargo and increasing shipping costs. This combination of factors, more ships, less water, and the threat of climate change raises a serious question about the future of the Panama Canal. If the water shortage continues and becomes more severe, the canal might not be able to maintain the same capacity it once did. This would have a massive impact on global trade, with goods taking longer to reach their destination and prices continuing to rise. Now, in this current situation, many countries are coming up with ambitious projects to address global issues, especially in the realm of transportation and trade. One such project that has been a topic of much debate and speculation is the proposed canal across Nicaragua. For decades, there have been talks of creating a new waterway connecting the Pacific Ocean to the Caribbean Sea, bypassing the overburdened Panama Canal. The idea sounds simple enough, but the logistics, costs, and potential consequences make it anything but. Let's dive into this project and explore its complexities. The idea of a Nicaraguan canal isn't new. It dates back over 150 years, with multiple proposals and surveys to build a waterway across Nicaragua. In the early 20th century, the United States had to choose between building a canal in Nicaragua or Panama. The Panama route was chosen mainly due to its shorter distance and fewer geological obstacles like the active volcanoes in Nicaragua. However, even though the Nicaraguan option was sidelined, the thought of a second canal never completely disappeared. The recent disruptions at the Panama Canal have once again brought the idea of a Nicaraguan canal to the forefront. The proposed Nicaraguan canal would be a massive project, potentially linking the Caribbean and Pacific Oceans via Lake Nicaragua. One part of the canal would stretch approximately 25 kilometers to the Pacific, while the other part would span around 100 kilometers to the Atlantic. In comparison, the Panama Canal is 80 kilometers long, and while this new canal would be longer, it could handle a different scale of traffic, potentially accommodating the world's largest ships. The cost of such a project would be astronomical, with estimates putting it around $40 billion, a sum that rivals some of the largest infrastructure projects in history. These challenges alone have already hindered past attempts to build the canal. In 2013, a Chinese company, HKND, signed an agreement with the Nicaraguan government to construct the canal. However, despite much fanfare, the project has yet to break ground. The company's office in Hong Kong closed, and there's been little news on the development front. The lack of progress has left many questioning the feasibility of the canal and whether Nicaragua is truly committed to such an ambitious and controversial project. Local resistance to the canal has also been a significant obstacle. Many Nicaraguans oppose the idea, fearing that it could displace thousands of people, damage the environment, and threaten their livelihoods. The indigenous communities living along the proposed route have raised concerns about the lack of transparency and the potential harm the canal could cause. Activists, particularly women from local communities, have been vocal about their opposition, stressing the need for more environmental safeguards and fair treatment for those who could be affected by the project. Despite this, the Nicaraguan government has remained optimistic, claiming that the canal project is still alive and could move forward with international partnerships. However, it's important to consider whether building another massive canal is the best solution. Some experts believe that we may be overlooking other, more sustainable alternatives. For example, Mexico has been investing in a land bridge project, a network of railways and highways that could transport goods across the country, offering an alternative to the Panama Canal. Similarly, Colombia has proposed an underground maglev railway to transport containers quickly and efficiently from coast to coast, bypassing the need for a traditional canal altogether. Next up is Mexico's Interoceanic Corridor, a mega project that aims to link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans with a 308-kilometer railway crossing southern Mexico. This isn't just any railway, it's designed to offer a faster, safer alternative to the lengthy and often dangerous route around South America, bypassing the Panama Canal's congestion. The corridor stretches from the Gulf Coast port of Coatzacoalcos to the Pacific Coast port of Salina Cruz, acting as a bridge for cargo to move across the isthmus instead of relying on ships to navigate around the continent. Just imagine, cargo ships unload their goods at one port, transport them by train across Mexico, and reload at the other port. This transfer setup promises to cut down on the long sea voyage, especially during peak traffic times at the Panama Canal. It's a solution designed not just for efficiency but for speed. This ambitious project doesn't just stop at laying down tracks, it also includes major upgrades to the two key ports involved, making this project far more comprehensive than just a railway system. The estimated cost of this venture? A cool $7.5 billion, and by 2033, the corridor hopes to handle up to 1.4 million TEUs, or 20-foot equivalent units, the standard container measurement, annually. But will this corridor truly rival the Panama Canal? Experts say it won't replace the canal entirely, as it works in a different way, focusing on a land-based cargo transfer system instead of a sea route. The project's success hinges on how well it can manage the complex process of transferring goods between ships and trains. If executed well, it could revolutionize trade in the region, and with parts of it already operational, it's proving to be a faster alternative than the canal in some instances. Do you think Mexico's Interoceanic Corridor is destined to change the game? Well, let us know in the comment section below. Meanwhile, another major player is Colombia, which is developing its own ambitious interoceanic railway project. This one is designed to complement, not compete with the Panama Canal. Colombia's plan involves constructing a 240-kilometer railway connecting its Atlantic and Pacific coasts, linking the ports of Cartagena and Buenaventura. Unlike Mexico's project, Colombia's railway will cut across the northern part of the country near the Panama border to make the route as efficient as possible. However, this project is still in the feasibility stage and has an estimated cost ranging from $7 billion to $13 billion, depending on how the planning unfolds. The Colombian government views this railway as a part of a larger national strategy to revitalize the country's aging rail infrastructure. Over 1,800 kilometers of rail lines are planned for reactivation, which could help foster economic growth and improve connectivity. While the project sounds promising, it's not without its challenges. The railway will have to cross through environmentally sensitive areas, and this means extensive consultations with indigenous and Afro-Colombian communities that will be necessary. Critics of the project have raised concerns about the financial risks, the difficult topography, and the potential environmental impact, suggesting that Colombia might be better off upgrading its existing rail systems rather than building a new line from scratch. On the flip side, some experts are optimistic, saying that while the project will require navigating complex landscapes, the technical requirements aren't beyond the country's capabilities. Studies indicate that the railway's construction wouldn't be overly complicated, though securing funding and overcoming environmental hurdles will be crucial. Given these substantial challenges, it's still up in the air whether this project will get off the ground and be completed successfully. But one thing's for sure, Colombia is determined to keep pushing forward with its plans, and if it succeeds, it could make a big impact on trade and transportation in the region. Beyond Mexico and Colombia, other countries and companies are continuously exploring ways to bypass the Panama Canal or reduce dependency on it. Technological advances, such as innovations in maritime shipping and the development of autonomous vessels, could also play a significant role in reshaping global trade networks, potentially leading to even more efficient options down the line. So, will these corridors bypass the Panama Canal? Well, the answer is not so clear-cut. While they present attractive alternatives, the Panama Canal remains deeply embedded in global trade logistics, and it's unlikely to be entirely displaced in the foreseeable future. Instead, these new routes could serve as critical supplements, offering shippers more options and flexibility, especially as trade volumes continue to grow and bottlenecks become more frequent. As these interoceanic corridors evolve, the real question will be how they complement the existing system and whether they can offer enough value to change the landscape of global trade. So do you think these new corridors can really compete with the Panama Canal, or will they fall short? Let us know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and press the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.